Horror games, if you didn't know, are spooky. It really is a unique genre because of how many ways you can do it, though admittedly some games do it better than others. Most people are aware of the AAA big name horror games like Resident Evil, Alien Isolation, Outlast, and those games are good, clearly, otherwise they wouldn't have gone popular, but they're also kinda long. 15 hours is enough time for you to get used to the game, at which point you can kinda predict when the scares are gonna happen, so they end up not being scary anymore. For some people at least. So that's why I wanted to point out a specific type of horror game that's really effective at the horror part. Short horror games. If you want my short explanation as to why, then too bad, I need to get my watch time up. To explain this, I'm going to talk about a few short horror games that are really good at the spooky part, and try to explain why they are good. And for reference, for a game to be considered short, I'm going to put a limit at around 2 hours. Any more than that and you're out the window. First game I want to show you is called No One Lives Under the Lighthouse. This game originally came out in 2020, however it has since gotten a Director's Cut edition and has also been ported to most consoles. Sadly, no GameCube edition. This game is complete with the pixelated PlayStation 1 aesthetic that I so very much like and haven't made a million videos on already. Not at all, this is the very first one. Put the mouse down, don't even bother looking. In this game, you're someone who has taken on the job of maintaining this old lighthouse on this island that is literally in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm convinced this island is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, after the previous keeper just vanished. It's a pretty small island, but you do at least get a shed for your tools and a small house to live in with pre-made food, and meat that hasn't decomposed at all. The job is easy. Before sunset, you have to fill up the light with oil, and pull the weight up so that it rotates throughout the night. Sounds simple. Obviously not, this is a game, and you should have realized that when the intro had a scene of someone watching us arrive. The first day actually goes normal. See, this is the thing I love about these types of games. You know this is going to be a horror game, so you're expecting the scares to happen immediately, especially after hearing this ambient music, or lack thereof in some areas. So having the day go by normally is slightly more off-putting. It's also a good idea to build up the player's spook meter throughout the game, rather than blasting it in the beginning. Obviously, the normalcy doesn't last long because immediately after, something is shown coming up from the boat, except for the fact that you don't know what it is. It's better to do this because now the player has to speculate on what it is, and is now more intrigued to continue the game to find out. Oh, and you wake up with oil spilled all over the floor. Now, a normal person would instinctively check out the boat place, and that's where you'll find one plate that you can fit on the chest in your house. Throughout the game, you can find more pieces to eventually unveil the one piece, probably. I don't know, I didn't find all of them. Anyway, you start your job as normal, except this time it's spooky because you find a piece of cloth that you'll need to clean the glass, which is now covered in oil stains somehow. Okay, sure. Except when you're done, there's a loud noise. And you find the stairwell now covered in oil. Like, a lot of oil. Like, do not let America find out about this place. Turns out the weight that you were using to make the lighthouse spin is now just gone, string included. Strange again, but no problem because you have backup weights. But while you're going to get the third bag, you suddenly get the POV of a huge spider thing that starts chasing you to the shed. And when you walk out of the shed, it's nowhere to be found. Now a normal person would immediately get on the boat and start rowing away at 10 times speed, but this character decides to stay. So now at this point in the game, the player's spook meter is at max capacity. Not only because you just saw a small Australian spider chase you, but because of that you now have more unresolved questions like, what the fuck was that? And where did all the oil come from? And seriously, what the fuck was that? It gets even weirder because when you do fix the weights, the lighthouse glass starts getting overrun with huge moths, and then they just leave. Makes sense to me. Anyway, I'm not going to mention everything that happens in the game because there's a lot of nights and I don't want to entirely spoil the game for those who haven't played it yet. But I will mention a few more things. There's a bunch of other cool moments, like at one point you actually play as the minuscule Australian spider, and there's a few sections in this hell-looking dimension. If you couldn't tell, this game is focused on the supernatural. The primary gameplay loop here is going through these different days with something new happening each time that either tells you more of the story, or just gets you more confused. One of the two. This isn't a unique thing either. Many games do this kind of semi-repetition. I mentioned it a lot in my video about Chilla's Art because they do that a lot. It's kind of their specialty. And many of the other games I'll mention in this video do something similar. This game also deliberately tells you as little as possible because it wants you to figure it out yourself, or fill in the blanks in your mind yourself. And specifically for horror games, this is perfect because your mind will naturally fill in the lore with the scariest thing you can come up with. Part of the reason why it doesn't explain stuff is because it's a short game. See what I mean? It's long enough to give you plenty of hands-on experience and spooks in the game world, but also short enough that it can't give too much exposition, letting you ponder about the game even after you finish it. Okay, so hopefully everything I just explained in this game gave you a better understanding of the overall appeal of short horror games. But there's more examples I can give, such as the security booth. This game also got a director's cut, by the way. This one also uses the pixelated style. Most of these examples do, and I promise that's not on purpose. This game is simple. You just man the security booth and only let the cars in that have their license plate registered on your computer. Simple, right? Well, it is. That is until your radio starts randomly playing static noise for a few seconds. Oh, and your phone starts ringing only to spit out an error code. Oh, and there's papers that start materializing into existence around the booth. And doors opening on their own. They appear to stop for a moment, except not quite, because a random guy pulls up to watch you from afar, probably a supervisor. Things really start to kick off when you hear an explosion in the complex, immediately followed by a phone call that repeats system failure, and then another phone call where all you hear is a ghostly voice. And final nail in the coffin, a red handprint just appears on your window, even though no one is around. Twice. If your assumption was ghosts or something related, well, I've got news for you, because you'll also receive a call where the ghost voice says, only for you to find a blanket hovering in the air like a stereotypical ghost. Oops. It seems that by doing that, you've offended the ghosts because their whole squad pulls up and starts high-fiving your booth, only for the mystery Shadow Man to pull up, give you an ominous message, and the game ends. Except wait, ending 1? Oh yeah, you guessed it, there's multiple endings. 7 to be precise. For 4 of them, they depend on what cars you let through. See, all of the cars that come through are randomized, except for a select few. Like the mystery guy with the blue car that watches you, well, he always will be one of the cars that shows up. And at the very end, there will always be the black ghost car. Most of the endings depend on whether or not you let the ghost car through, or you answer the phone, which prompts the ghost car to dematerialize. So of the 4, there's the following the instructions properly ending, but there's also the let everyone in except the ghost car ending, the don't let anyone in ending, and the let the ghost car through ending. There are 2 quick endings as well. For one of them, you just get ran over, pretty simple. And for the secret ending, you open the gate and walk into the complex, and get shown a cutscene of the mystery guy dancing in an office. I claim this ending as canon. Finally, ending 4, which is the true ending, can only be done after you've done every other ending, and I won't explain this one because it's a lot longer and way more comprehensive, so I'll let you experience it if you haven't played this. The spook factor in this game is similar to the last game, where you have a repetitive job that gets interrupted by something out of the ordinary. And also like the previous game, this game relies on purposely not telling you the lore so that you can think about it yourself. So you're left to wonder, what is this company Nova Nexus? What do they do? Who the fuck was that? And why is that? The game drip feeds you some information through the notes that appear throughout the game, or through the set pieces in the different endings, but they still don't explain as much as you might hope. Especially this one. That's why the game also has bonus tapes. You get these tapes by getting the different endings, and they give you much more lore than the normal game. Oftentimes, the tapes show the perspective of an employee in Nova Nexus, or someone who's probably just super baked. Still though, if you read all of the text in these tapes, there are a bunch of stuff that's redacted, so that you still don't have all the information. This game does it perfectly, IMO, so if you haven't tried this game, do give it a go. Alright, now this next game is kind of weird. This is The Open House. Weirdly, this game you can even play in your browser, so you don't have to download anything. A+. The concept here is that a company called Optics Dynamics Labs created an open house simulator allowing you to tour around a house completely digitally. Or they could have just recreated the house in Blender, that could work too. This simulator is quite simple. You can walk around the house using predetermined positions and look around, and you can bring up the guide to tell you more details, which is something that already exists. And as you do that, you may notice some irregularities, like blood on the walls, or a stained wood saw, or a guy in the closet. But you know, those are glitches anyway. When you end up finding 4 glitches, the game breaks. Your menu gets frozen in space, and the guy that gives you details is now trying his best to recreate the scream face. Plus a slight jump scare. I'll give it a pass. When the game reloads, the house is dark, there's blood everywhere, good luck cleaning that up, and you come across a guy with the saw, plus whatever the fuck that is. He seems happy to see you. Suddenly you're in debug mode, which allows you to walk around normally with the slowest controls ever seen in human history. The program will eventually tell you to scan the master bedroom, and if you go there, you'll end up in a backrooms-esque place that loops forever, while the program says, "Welcome home." After some loops and spotting our bootleg scream face, the game tries to trick you with more shenanigans like locating the player tag, which is you, and then spawning the it character. What the fuck is that? Then a UI element is missing. If you find that UI element in the void, you might notice the press tab to change cameras. That definitely did not take me 10 minutes to find. Shut up. Changing cameras brings you to this fleshy place that I can only describe as ground beef, or the inside of a demon from Doom. Once you find your UI element, the only thing left to do is make an offer. The end. Oh, and good news, your offer gets accepted, so expect a call soon. Don't worry about the background. So yeah, this game is super short. It's like 20 minutes, and that's if you're not an idiot like me. This is one of my favorite types of horror because it's subtle. There are no excessive jump scares, you gotta find all the spooky stuff like bro in the closet, and like the other 2 games, the spooks ramp up as the game progresses. This one is also unique in that your movement is heavily limited. You can only move and look at certain spots, and when you do get into the debug mode later, the movement is comedically slow. So that's why things like the fake running sound will get you because you can't turn around fast enough. Or when they spawn the it character, which it doesn't actually happen by the way. It's just a funny prank, but since you think it's real, you get nervous because 1, you don't know what the fuck it is, and 2, you realize there's no way to escape the thing when you're moving slower than a snail. Also, just like the other 2 games, the lore barely gets explained, so you're left wondering what this company is, and what the fuck is that thing, and what this place is, and why they're welcoming you home. I have no idea why, but you can probably come up with your own theories. So, even though I literally spoiled pretty much the entire game for you, try it out for yourself, because there could very well be some small details I missed. Alright, besides the open house, the other games were kind of pushing the 2-hour limit, so I want to show you some other truly short games. The first one is called Redfinger. This game was made by Ken Forrest, who is well versed in the field of short horror games, but this happened to be the first of his that I played. This game is heavily inspired by another game called White Knuckle. I actually wanted to play that game for this video because it's also somewhat short and spooky, but it's still in early access, so I figured I'd give it more time in the oven. I can mention it briefly here. In that game, you climb up this structure like a literal monkey, only difference being that you're entirely invisible except for your hands. It does the same thing the other games do, not tell you anything, so you have to discover whatever the hell substructure 17 is. I wouldn't know either because I haven't played it yet. All of this also applies to Redfinger. In this game, instead of going up, you're going down, with an elevator. An elevator that's so old that you have to hold down a 3-kilogram button to make it work. And like a Chad, you do it with 1 finger. I think you see where the white knuckle inspiration is. You're also an invisible person with a floating hand, and in both games your hand slowly gets red and tired from holding something. However, instead of waiting for your hand to relax, in Redfinger, you literally have to cool down your singular working finger with cold water. This becomes a problem since you also have a light that can only be turned off by holding down the button. Why do you have this light? I don't know, but it might come in handy. Oh, and Goose as well. Anyway, your job is to go down to each level and input some codes, and then quickly get out because you just made the water start rising. Now this game gets scary because 1, it's dark, but also, you don't know what you need the light for, and having a finger that gets tired quickly might be a problem if you need to hold something down for a while and need to take time to cool it down. Everything is fine for a while, until at one point everything starts shaking and this huge mechanical monster thingamajig with teeth comes down and starts scanning the elevator. Obviously, this is what the light is for. You have to turn it off so that it doesn't see anything and will eventually go away. If you don't, you get eaten like a Dorito. So you better hope your fingers cool down because you're going to be holding that button for a while. So clearly the tension in this game is managing your task while keeping your finger cool in case Ender Dragon looking odd decides to visit you, and then double that when you have to race against the water. The funny part is that I think the monster comes down based on RNG, and for me, it only came down once. Only once. Anyway, nice game. Okay, last one I wanted to mention is called Midnight Postman. This is your usual delivery game. You're a dude who works delivery and hates life like a true Sigma. To further cement the realism of this game, when you ask your boss for a little extra cash, he says no. Because of how short this game is, I mean, you only do 3 deliveries, in order to pad out time, you have to walk. And walk quite a distance while reading this dude's thoughts about hating life like a super Sigma. Like the average DoorDash driver, you're met with some strange customers, or no customers. In your final delivery, the guy seems quite normal, which in real life would be a blessing, but this is a horror game, so... He offers you some tea, and it doesn't matter what option you choose, by the way, you end up going in. This dude offers you a way to improve your life, and he's quite fast with it, because the millisecond you turn around, he bonks you with a pan. RIP, bro. That's the whole game. There isn't much to say in this game, it's not that scary, besides the quick scare that bro gives you. Oh, and the first bro that lives in a bush. I guess it becomes unintentionally scary because of the setting and the anticipation of what you obviously know is going to happen. And okay, I know I said the last one was the last one, but this is the last one. This game is called On My Way Home, and it's quite literally 5 minutes long. Your character is, you know, on the way home, and you go to this bus stop. And as various folks walk by, your character talks about how unsuccessful he is and how he can't get a girlfriend because he's a game dev. So relatable, bro. Except I'm not even a game dev. I can tell bro was writing this dialogue at 3 in the morning. And then when you see your bus fly past you at record speed, you decide to go to the house behind you for help. Of course, no one answers the door, so you check the backyard only to find a body bag and the culprit staring at you. So you run away, and depending on which direction you go, something different happens. You can successfully run away in 2 different directions, or die in a based way, or run away again, only to find you and the killer dancing. Game of the year right here. Okay, so this game isn't really that scary, except for maybe finding the bag and getting caught by the dude, and the noise when he starts running. That's kind of it though. But again, this kind of does the same thing of building up tension, so I gotta give it credit for that. Anyway, I hope I've given you some appreciation of shorter games, and especially shorter horror games. I know I basically spoiled all the games I mentioned here, but I'd still recommend you try them out in case I missed something, because I'm known for doing that. There's also a bunch of other games that could have fit in this video, but this is already long enough, so this is what I got. Although feel free to mention some other ones that I haven't heard of. I'll definitely look at them. But anyways, bye.